I was the girl everyone in my house ignored. They said I wasn't good enough for the city. My own sister laughed at me. I left home with one bag and a heart full of pain. But the day I rose, karma brought my whole family back to my door. My name is Sarika, and I come from a small Indian town where every street knows every secret, except mine. I grew up in a house where I was always the quiet one. The girl who listened more than she spoke. The girl who tried to smile even when her heart felt heavy. My younger sister Anaya was the favorite child. She always got the love, the attention, the soft words. And me? I got the blame. Every morning, my mother would compare me with her. Why can't you be more like Anaya? That line became the background music of my life. My uncle Raghav lived with us too. He never liked me. He would point at my books and say, "Stop dreaming. Girls like you don't go far." I used to keep my head down and pretend those words didn't hurt. But they did. They cut deep. Still. I studied in silence. I dreamed in silence. I hoped in silence. Because deep inside, I believed that one day, something in my life would change. I didn't know it then. But the storm was just beginning. I still remember the day everything changed. It was a warm afternoon. The kind of day where even the trees outside looked tired. I was sitting on the floor, filling a scholarship form. It was my dream, a chance to study in a nearby city. A chance to breathe. My heart was beating fast. For the first time, my future felt close, almost touchable. But before I could finish the form, my mother snatched the paper from my hands. "What is this?" she asked sharply. "A scholarship form," I whispered. "If I get selected, I can study in the city." She stared at me like I had said something wrong. "Who will do the housework if you leave? And who told you you're ready for a big city?" Her words felt like a slap. I looked at her, waiting for her to soften. Waiting for even a little support. But before she could speak again, Inaya walked in. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that burns. "Scholarship? You?" She shook her head. "Sarika, you can't even speak confidently. How will you live alone?" Her voice was sharp, but the pain it caused was sharper. I felt my throat tighten. Still, I tried to stay calm. "I just want a chance," I said gently. But they didn't hear me. Just then, my uncle Raghav came inside. He looked at the papers and frowned. "A scholarship is useless for you," he said coldly. "Give your savings to Anaya. At least she can use them for something good." My heart stopped. "My savings?" I asked softly. "Yes," he snapped. "All families share money. Don't act special." I felt something break inside me, something small, something quiet. For years, I stayed silent. For years, I accepted everything. But that moment hurt in a way I had never felt before. It wasn't just disrespect. It was rejection. Clear, loud, and final. I looked at my family, the people who were supposed to protect me, and for the first time, I saw the truth. They never wanted me to fly. They wanted me to stay small. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I didn't cry. I just felt myself drift away from them, slowly, like a thread slipping out of a cloth. I knew something had to change. And the change would start with me. The next morning, I made a decision. I packed a small bag with my documents, some clothes, and the little money I had saved secretly. I didn't look back. Not once. The streets of my small town looked the same, dusty, quiet, familiar. But I didn't belong there anymore. Not really. I took the bus to the city, my heart pounding with fear and hope. Every stop felt like a step away from the life that had trapped me and a step toward the life I deserved. I rented a tiny room in a crowded neighborhood. The walls were cracked, the floor uneven, but it was mine. My own space, where no one could tell me I was not enough. Days turned into weeks. I took small jobs, tutoring children, helping at a local cafe, delivering groceries. I was exhausted, but I was free. Then I met Vihan. He was kind, bright, and surprisingly honest. "You're working too hard," he said one evening, handing me a cup of tea. "I've seen your determination. You can do more than just survive, you can thrive." His words felt like sunlight after a long storm. For the first time, someone believed in me without expecting anything in return. I threw myself into my scholarship program. I studied at night, worked by day, and slowly, painfully, built a new version of myself. It wasn't easy. Some nights I cried silently, thinking of my family, wondering if I was doing the right thing. But every time I felt weak, I reminded myself, I am not responsible for their cruelty. I am responsible for my dreams. I am responsible for myself. And with that thought, I rose each morning, stronger than the day before. The girl who stayed quiet for years was slowly disappearing. And in her place, a new Sarika was awakening. Months passed, and the city began to feel like home. I became one of the top students in my scholarship program. Professors noticed my dedication, classmates respected my determination, and for the first time, I felt proud of myself. I also got a small internship at a local firm. The work was challenging, but I loved it. Every task reminded me that I was capable, that I had value outside the walls of my old home. Vihan remained my pillar. "Sarika," he said one evening as we walked along the busy streets, "look at how far you've come. Remember, you're doing this not for them, but for yourself." And he was right. I was no longer the girl who let her family define her worth. I was Sarika, strong, independent, unstoppable. Meanwhile, back in my small town, I heard rumors. My mother's health was failing, Inaya had financial troubles, and Raghav was struggling to run his business. They were beginning to feel the consequences of the life they had built, one that relied on tearing others down. One day, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was weak, almost unfamiliar. "Sarika, can you help us?" I paused. The voice I had longed to hear as support now sounded desperate. I felt a strange mixture of sadness and calm. I didn't answer immediately. I wanted to think. I wanted to feel what it meant to truly choose my response, instead of reacting out of fear or guilt. For the first time in my life, I realized, I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their love to feel complete. I had built myself. I had chosen myself. And that alone was enough. It was a busy afternoon at my office. Papers, meetings, deadlines, life had become a rhythm I loved. Then my assistant whispered, "Ma'am, your family is here." My heart skipped a beat. I walked to the lobby and froze. There they were, my mother, Inaya, and even Raghav, standing awkwardly, faces pale, eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in years, humility. Inaya ran to me, tears streaming down her face. "Sarika, we were wrong. Please forgive us." I looked at them, my chest tight. I felt a strange calmness. The anger I had carried for years was still there, yes, but it wasn't controlling me anymore. I took a deep breath. "I'm not the same girl you used to know," I said softly. "I've built my life, my dreams, my happiness. Not for you. Not to prove you wrong. But for me." My mother and uncle looked down, ashamed. Inaya sobbed quietly. I paused, and then I said something I never thought I could. "I will help you. But only because I choose to be kind, not because I owe you anything." I guided them, gave them advice, helped them find stability. But the power dynamic had changed. Now, I was in control of my life. Now, I was free. That night, I sat by my window, looking at the city lights. I smiled softly. For years, I had begged for love, respect, and support. Life doesn't always give you what you want. Sometimes, it tests you. Sometimes, it makes you fight for yourself. And when you finally do, karma has a way of catching up with everyone else. I rebuilt my life not to prove them wrong, but to prove to myself that I deserve better. And that was the most beautiful victory of all. Sometimes the people you love try to hold you back, but life changes the moment you choose yourself. Respect is not given, you earn it by standing up for your worth. And when you finally know your value, the world begins to see it too.